What's up, guys? It's your boy Zowoki, back at it with another Chris Watts video. And this video is one that I've pretty much been asking for, which is Nichol Kessinger's involvement, but the other side where they're defending not Chris Watts, but Nichol Kessinger, saying that she wasn't there. I want to see what they think, what their thoughts are and their opinions, because our opinions are that Nichol Kessinger was involved in some shape or form, and we just are trying to find that little piece to connect her to it. But I've always asked, hey, is if somebody else out there that's defending Nichol Kessinger that thinks that she was involved, please tell me why. And this person, I believe, is doing just that, because the thumbnail on the channel reads, where'd it go? Nichol Kessinger not guilty of anything. We're going to take a look at that. So grab a chair, get comfortable. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting that white bar icon down at the bottom right. Hit that bell icon next to it, so when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that Zowoki myself has posted that video, and then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, thank you so very much for that love and support that you guys do show on my channel. I can't thank you guys enough. Keep on doing what you guys are doing, and hopefully one day we will reach that 100K goal. If you would like to watch this video without me, which I completely understand, link is in the description. This is from the YouTube channel called The Crime Lab Files. So go over there, give them some love. You know the deal. And again, it won't hurt my feelings if you don't want to watch with me, because not everybody can watch with a commentary or a reactionist and so forth. The link is in the description. But without further ado, for those that want to watch with me, let's get into it.
In August of 2018, the American public was jolted by a crime that defied explanation. A seemingly devoted husband, Chris Watts, murdered his pregnant wife Shanann and their 2 young daughters in cold blood. It was a case that gripped the nation, not just because of the brutality of the crime, but because of the duplicity involved. Chris Watts, who moments earlier had been seen on camera begging for his family's safe return, had orchestrated their deaths with chilling calculation. But as the investigation unfolded, a name began to surface in both official records and public discourse: Nichol Kessinger. She was not just a co-worker, she was the mistress. And while she wasn't charged, arrested, or even officially named a suspect, Kessinger became the focus of a million questions, conspiracy theories, and
I just have 2. Were you there that morning, and did you help Chris in any way possible? That could give us a nice baseline.
online obsessions. In this video, we are not interested in assumptions. We are interested in the facts. Who is Nichol Kessinger? What was her role in the Watts murders, if any? What does the evidence say? And why, years later, do so many people still suspect she knows more than she admitted? We begin by going back, not just to August 2018, but to the beginning of Nicole's involvement in Chris's life.
Okay.
Nichol Kessinger met Chris Watts at Anadarko Petroleum, where they both worked.
There's a lot of people saying that they met a lot sooner, because that's why we see the Google searches that say 2017. It wasn't a typo. It wasn't a typo.
Nicole worked in environmental safety, while Chris was a field operator. According to her, their paths didn't cross until mid-June 2018, just 2 months before the murders. They struck up a conversation at the office, and Chris told her he was in the process of separating from his wife. Kessinger claimed she had no idea he was still living with Shanann, or that his wife was pregnant. According to her, Chris told her they were amicably separating and that they were sleeping in different rooms. He allegedly said they were working out the legal and financial issues of a divorce. In interviews with police,
fact check Facebook showed that none of that was true. They weren't going through divorce. They might have been sleeping together or sleeping apart from each other, having little rifts and so forth like that. But there is no evidence that shows that they were going through a divorce online or in person or whatever have you. Chris wanted to separate. Shanann was trying to fight for it. But again, there is no evidence that shows that Chris told her, Nicole, that divorce was imminent. He just wanted to sit there and say, oh, we're separated. We're on the way to divorce. But let's have our little schnooky over here at your place. And then I'm going to lie to you, which is what Nicole wants us to believe, that, oh, she didn't know about the divorce or them separating. She didn't know about the extra child or the baby being born. She didn't know. Really?
Nicole said she believed him. She said she wanted to take things slow and made it clear she would.
Are you kidding me? Preparing for booty stuff and threesomes, that's taking it slow?
Be involved with a man still attached to his wife. Chris reassured her that he was separating. In fact, Nicole later said she was trying to be a positive influence, encouraging him to fix his relationship.
Said no mistress ever. They're a mistress because they're a mistress. They're a woman that hides in the shadows, that gets the schnookies after the main woman.
With his daughters, be financially responsible, and rebuild his life. But behind the scenes, the reality was different.
They would have never lasted together. I guarantee it. It was more or less a booty call.
Chris and Shanann were still married and still living together. Shanann had recently returned from a long work trip and was just weeks away from giving birth to their son, Nico. She was not under the impression that they were separating. In fact, she was still posting romantic messages about Chris on social media, expressing excitement for the baby's arrival. Chris was living a double life. The relationship between Chris and Nicole escalated quickly. They exchanged hundreds of text messages, shared intimate photos, and saw each other regularly. Nicole later admitted that she fell for him hard. She said they talked about starting a life together, even getting an apartment and discussing how many children they each wanted. Throughout July, their relationship intensified. Chris spent hours with Nicole, lied to his wife, and began to distance himself from his family. Shanann noticed. She told friends and family that something had changed. Chris was cold, detached, distant. He wasn't interested in the baby. He wasn't a...
And Chris, I don't know why I have to defend this, Chris wanted the baby. Not saying Shanann didn't want the baby, but Chris wanted to have a third child because he wanted a baby boy. And of course, Shanann was like, of course I want to have one with you. And then they had a baby boy. They were both excited. But because Chris ran into this woman, that went all down the tubes.
Affectionate. He wasn't himself. By early August, Shanann was becoming increasingly suspicious. She confided in friends that she thought Chris might be cheating.
She wasn't stupid.
At the same time, Nicole was also growing uneasy. She later told investigators she started to question Chris's honesty, specifically about the status of his separation. She claimed that, in early August, she asked him directly if he had finalized his divorce. He told her he was nearly there, but paperwork was slow. What happens next would forever...
My divorce was started and done within 6 months. And I thought that was fast.
...ever change the narrative. On August 13th, 2018, Shanann returned home from a work trip to Arizona. Within hours, she and her daughters, Bella and Celeste, were dead. Chris would later admit to killing all three and disposing of their bodies at an oil site owned by Anadarko. The company where both he and Nicole worked, Nichol Kessinger, claimed she had no idea what had happened until the media began reporting on Shanann's disappearance. She said Chris had been acting strange, not responding to messages and seeming evasive. On August 14th, she contacted police
because he was freaking out and she was freaking out that their plan was foiled
to report her concerns, and agreed to be interviewed by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. In that interview, Nicole appeared emotional and anxious. She provided access to her phone, turned over text messages, and answered detailed questions about her relationship with Chris.
Are we kidding right now? Detailed questions?
She insisted she had no knowledge of the murders and was horrified to learn the truth.
Yeah, okay.
Investigators noted that she was cooperative, providing details about Chris's behavior and their communications in the days leading up to the murders. But for many, her version of events raised more questions than answers. To understand whether Nichol Kessinger's narrative holds up, we must examine the communications between her and Chris Watts, beginning in June 2018. Nicole stated that she met Chris in mid to late June 2018, but co-workers would later suggest that they were seen speaking as early as May, regardless of when it began.
There was talk about April and March. And then the Google searches a year before.
Nicole herself confirmed that things progressed quickly. Within just a few weeks, they were seeing each other regularly and communicating daily. Phone records show that between June and August, Chris and Nicole exchanged more than 1,900 text messages and spent nearly 40 hours talking on the phone. These weren't quick exchanges. Many calls lasted over an hour. The data shows a clear progression. By mid-July, their communication was near constant. But it's not just the frequency of contact that raises eyebrows. It's the timing of it. Let's go to July 4th weekend. Chris's family, Shannon, Bella, and Celeste, were away visiting relatives in North Carolina. Shannon was working remotely and staying with her parents. Chris stayed behind, citing work obligations. During this period, Nicole and Chris went on several dates, visited parks, had meals together, and even went to the Great Sand Dunes National Park. Chris later told investigators that he felt free during those weeks. Nicole, according to her statements, still believed he was finalizing his separation. She claimed she never pried into his personal matters and trusted what he told her.
She's just full of crap!
But trust, in this case, becomes an increasingly fraught concept. On July 14th, Chris and Nicole spent the night together. Texts between the two show flirtation and growing intimacy. The next day, Nicole searched online for topics such as, "Man I'm having an affair with says he will leave his wife." Just days later, she would begin searching how to prepare for a new relationship. Wedding dresses, and can mistress turn into wife? By late July, Chris returned to North Carolina to reunite with Shannon and his daughters. This trip would turn out to be disastrous for his marriage. Shannon wrote heartfelt letters, expressing her confusion and desperation at Chris's cold behavior. In one message, she wrote, "I miss your voice, your laugh, your funny side. I miss holding you." But Chris was
You know how many guys would kill for that?
Emotionally detached, seemingly preoccupied with something or someone else. During this time, Nicole and Chris stayed in contact. Phone records indicate late-night calls and texts, even while Chris was on vacation with his family. This contradicts Nicole's later claims that she believed Chris was completely separate from his wife. Then came early August. On August 4th, Nicole searched how to delete phone records. On August 8th, she looked up Shannon's Facebook profile. This was just 5 days before the murders. On August 11th, Chris dropped Nicole off after spending the day together. Later that night, Shannon arrived home from her work trip. It would be the last time she was seen alive by anyone outside the home. Between August 12th and August 13th, things escalated. On August 13th at 3:45 a.m., Chris loaded his truck and left the house. Surveillance footage would later confirm that he backed his truck into the garage and made several trips in and out of the house. He claimed he was leaving for work, a remote oil site he hadn't visited in weeks. By 5 a.m., friend Nichol Atkinson was concerned.
But he knew, because we found out through actual evidence that the Anadarko site, Survey 319, was supposed to be decommissioned and destroyed in September. But then they postponed it because of this tragedy and still decommissioned it and destroyed it in December.
Shanann hadn't responded to texts or calls, and she missed a doctor's appointment. Atkinson drove to the Watts home. There was no answer.
If it wasn't for
By
her.
mid-morning, police were contacted. Chris acted surprised. He spoke to officers and agreed to a search. But body cam
He agreed to a search because he knew they weren't there.
footage shows an awkward, tense Chris, emotionally flat and fidgety.
They should have went to Nicole's house. Just saying.
Nichol Kessinger later claimed that she was unaware of what had happened until the media reported on the missing family. But this is where public suspicion intensified. Because that same morning, she had Googled Chris Watts and Shanann Watts, and she did it again on August 14th. She also searched Amber Frey, the mistress of Scott Peterson, another man who murdered his pregnant wife. Nicole told investigators she contacted them as soon as she felt something was wrong. She provided screenshots.
She contacted them because she found out that Anadarko had sent the emails between her and Chris to the FBI, CBI. That's why she came forward. And she's like, crap, I got to fix this or my life is screwed.
Call
it's all about NK.
And agreed to multiple interviews. She said she was horrified and betrayed. A woman caught in a nightmare she never saw coming. And yet, for many, the timeline feels too coincidental.
Then if that were the case, prove it. Prove it to us. Or she sits there and says, I don't have nothing to prove. Actually, you do. That's why you have so much hate. Because of all this negativity and destruction that you caused. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to go enjoy my life. Bye. And then not prove that you weren't there. Prove it to us.
Too intertwined. Too calculating. Why search for how to delete messages days before the crime? Why research Shanann or Amber Frey? Unless you feared or knew what was to come. Let's begin with the phone records.
Can cops retrieve deleted messages? Can they do this? Like, why would you do that if you're not guilty?
Between June and August 13th, 2018, Chris and Nicole exchanged over 1,900 text messages. Their calls added up to more than 40 hours. This level of contact was not just flirtation, it was immersion. On August 13th, the day of the murders, the calls between the two were abrupt and limited. Nicole allegedly tried to reach Chris later that morning and was unable to connect. She would later tell investigators that this was the moment her intuition told her something was very wrong. But investigators were already questioning her search history.
Her intuition smells like a skunk.
August 4th, more than a week before the murders, Nicole searched, can police trace text messages, and how to delete messages on iPhone.
Oh, wait, hold on, a week before?
More than a week before the murders. Investigators were already questioning her search history. On August 4th, more than a week before the murders, Nicole searched, can police trace text messages, and how to delete messages on iPhone. And then there was August 8th, the date she looked up Shanann Watts' Facebook profile multiple times. It's crucial to remember. Nicole had insisted she barely knew Shanann's name before the murder.
She would have been able to see the pregnancy. She would have been able to see Shanann talk about Chris and how great of a father and spouse he is. Do we continue to go on?
Murders. She claimed she thought Chris was already separated and initiating divorce proceedings. But why search for the wife of a man you've been seeing for less than 2 months?
Exactly.
Unless there was doubt or obsession. Let's talk browser activity. Nicole used her phone and work computer to search for things like Google. Man says he will leave wife for me. What do I do? dating a man going through a divorce, how to prepare for a new relationship, can mistress
I don't think it was how to prepare for a new relationship. It was preparing for.
turn into wife. After Shanann and the girls were reported missing, Nicole searched the internet. Again, but this time, her terms were darker. Chris Watts news. Watts family disappearance. Amber
She wanted to know if her name was being put in there and slandered.
Frey. She also spent a significant amount of time reading online forums, watching news clips,
If she was doing it back then, she's doing it now.
and perhaps most notably, clearing her browser history. Nicole claimed she only did that out of panic. She was afraid of being implicated, and that people would think she had something to do with the murders. She told
No.
investigators she deleted their text exchanges so the press wouldn't leak them. But by doing so, she may have inadvertently deepened suspicion. FBI analysts retrieved the deleted
And if that were the case, then prove it.
messages. They found no smoking gun, no outright admission or planning of the crime. But they did find strange gaps. Gaps where texts were missing, or partially removed. One deleted exchange, believed to be from early August, included Nicole confronting Chris about lying. She seemed angry, betrayed, saying things like, "You told me you were done with her, that you slept in the basement." This contradicts her claim that she believed Chris and Shanann were already living separately. Then there are the location records. Nicole claimed she hadn't been anywhere near the Watts home. This checks out. GPS data places her in her apartment or at work. But she did look up directions to Erie, Colorado, near where Shanann's body would be found, a few days before the crime. When asked why, she said she was just exploring areas outside Denver for hiking or weekend plans. The FBI was thorough. They pored over every digital footprint, phone logs, deleted messages, Google histories, and social media activity.
I wonder. So she Googled Erie, Colorado. I just wanted to see how close it was to Frederick, Colorado. It's 17 minutes. So if she Googled Erie to Survey 319, why would you? Interesting. Feel like my mind is just thinking and thinking and thinking.
Nicole was interviewed for nearly 25 hours across several sessions. Her demeanor
25 hours? I don't think it was 25 hours. There was 3, there was 2, another 2. So maybe just under 10, if that.
changed with each one, at first confident, then emotional, then guarded. She admitted that she had lied at first to protect herself. She said she had withheld some truths about the relationship, like how
And those truths were crap.
quickly it had escalated and how deeply she had fallen for Chris. She claimed she felt manipulated, that Chris had used her trust and destroyed lives. And here's where the public divide intensifies. Was Nichol Kessinger a victim of deception?
No.
A pawn in a sociopath's game?
No.
Or was she something more?
Something
A woman who knew enough to sound the alarm, but chose silence instead. Some believe the searches speak for themselves, deleting messages, looking up police tracing capabilities, and scouring Shanann's Facebook profile. All point to premeditation, or, at the very least, foreknowledge. Others argue these are the panicked moves of a woman realizing the man she loved had committed unspeakable crimes. Nichol Kessinger sat down with law enforcement multiple times between August 15th and September 2018. She was interviewed by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, CBI, the Frederick Police Department, and the FBI. Over the course of nearly 25 hours, she gave her version of the truth, often emotional, occasionally guarded, and frequently contradictory. The first session began, just 2 days after Shanann and the children were reported missing. At this point, Nicole was not yet a suspect, but the investigators were interested in clarifying the timeline of her relationship with Chris Watts. Nicole appeared visibly nervous in the video recordings. She told agents that she had met Chris in June 2018 at Anadarko Petroleum, where they both worked. She described him as quiet, kind, and seemingly heartbroken over a marriage that was falling apart.
Because of Chris?
According to Nicole, Chris claimed that he was living separately from Shanann, sleeping in the basement, and only staying in the house temporarily until the divorce was finalized. She emphasized that she did not want to be a homewrecker, and repeatedly claimed that she believed Chris was in the final stages of his...
That picture is definitely not her. At least the face. I think somebody manipulated the face.
Separation. She told investigators, "I thought he was honest. I thought he was being real with me." But as the interview continued, inconsistencies began to emerge. When shown a copy of her call logs, Nicole hesitated. She had deleted several conversations with Chris, but claimed that was only to protect her privacy. When asked about specific search queries, like looking up Shanann Watts on Facebook, she downplayed it. "I was just curious," she said. "I wanted to know who she was." In the second interview, which took place just days after Chris Watts had been arrested and charged with the murders, Nicole's tone shifted drastically. She appeared distraught. She told agents, "I wouldn't have helped him hide anything. I had no idea. If I did, I'd have come forward sooner."
You are full of crap.
She cried during this session and expressed anger toward Chris. She claimed he had lied to her and manipulated her. "I asked him if he was in the process of a divorce. He said yes. I asked if he was sleeping in the same bed as his wife. He said no."
Why does it matter? You're sleeping with a married man.
But the FBI noticed a few critical problems. For one, Nicole had done extensive internet searches on Watts and the family long before the murders, and even before Chris had allegedly disclosed his marital status. These actions contradicted her statement that she barely knew Shannon's name. Nicole was also...
Both their Facebooks said married.
Questioned
not separated.
About her reaction to the news of Shannon's disappearance. According to agents, she didn't contact police on her own until nearly 24 hours later, even after learning that Chris's family was missing. Her defense: "I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to believe. I was scared." She handed over her phone voluntarily.
She was scared of getting caught.
Allowing agents to comb through her messages,
Not all of them.
photos, browser history, and apps. They found evidence that she had been actively Googling media coverage of the case in real time, and had even searched for Amber Frey, the mistress of Scott Peterson, another high-profile family annihilator.
Why would you be Googling about the case and then Amber Frey's net book deal at the same time? That's suspicious.
When asked why she looked up Amber Frey, Nicole said, "I was trying to figure out how people like her survive this."
Really? That's why you looked up her net book deal?
"I didn't want to be famous. I just wanted to disappear."
Oh, she famous.
In later interviews, Nicole also admitted that she had deleted all of her text exchanges with Chris Watts from her phone. "I didn't want anyone reading those, not even the police. It was embarrassing." While many took this as a sign of guilt.
Why? Because you Googled butt stuff and that Chris eats cat really good? Like, really? That's what you're worried about?
Others saw it as understandable fear. She was not involved in the planning of the murders. The FBI found no messages suggesting foreknowledge, and Chris himself had not implicated her in any confessions. But her presence in the case raised undeniable ethical questions. Was she manipulated, or willfully ignorant? Did she choose not to ask deeper questions because she didn't want the answers? Or was she an accomplice in denial? By the end of the final FBI interview, Nicole was no longer considered a person of interest. But she
Because she was given a deal.
remained a central figure in the narrative, a mirror through which we examine motive, manipulation, and moral responsibility. Once Chris Watts confessed to murdering his pregnant wife Shanann and their 2 young daughters, the public's attention quickly turned to Nicole. Although she was not charged with any crime, she became the subject of intense scrutiny. Her name trended on social media, online forums dissected her every move, and conspiracy theories bloomed across YouTube and Reddit. The primary reason for this attention: people were desperate to understand why Chris Watts did what he did, and since he had no prior criminal record, no documented history of violence, and no known financial hardship, many pointed to Nichol Kessinger as the catalyst. She was portrayed in conflicting lights. Some saw her as a victim, manipulated by a master liar. Others saw her as the femme fatale, a woman who inspired a family annihilator. The media ran with this tension. Television networks ran specials featuring anonymous sources who claimed Nicole had been
Way before I started taking this, so...
obsessed with Chris. Tabloids published stories about her high school years, her previous relationships, even her attendance at church. Every aspect of her life was dissected. Meanwhile, on social media, she was vilified. Comment sections filled with accusations, threats, and doxing. Nicole was forced to disconnect her phone, delete her email accounts, and go into hiding. Investigators confirmed that Nicole was not involved in the murders and had cooperated fully with law enforcement. But the court of public opinion does not always mirror the legal system. One of the most damaging aspects of her involvement was the release of her Google search history. People used this digital trail to paint her as calculated, even manipulative. The fact that she had looked up Amber Frey, Shanann Watts, and wedding dresses in the same time frame only added fuel to the fire. Additionally, leaked audio of her interviews revealed inconsistencies that internet sleuths latched onto. Why did she Google Chris and Shanann so early? Why didn't she report her suspicions earlier? Why delete messages if she had nothing to hide? A wave of YouTubers created entire channels dedicated to Nicole, analyzing every gesture, every inflection of her voice during the interviews. Some even conducted armchair psychoanalysis, diagnosing her with personality disorders or suggesting she had a hidden role in the crime. The fallout extended beyond digital harassment. According to leaked reports from law enforcement sources, Nichol Kessinger entered witness protection or a form of identity change after the trial.
I can confirm
whether
that.
under a new name or through legal protections. She has disappeared from public life.
I have a documentation of 2023 that says otherwise, and I've showed it on my channel before that Nichol Kessinger is still signing her stuff as Nichol Kessinger.
Entirely, but that hasn't stopped people from searching. Every few months, new rumors surface, sightings at grocery stores, speculation that she's living in another state, or theories that she's started a new life abroad. None of these have been verified, but they speak to the cultural fixation
she's still in Colorado
with her role in this tragedy. The backlash against Nicole raises important ethical questions. To what extent is a private citizen responsible for someone else's crime? Can a mistress ever be considered morally culpable in a situation like this?
Should be.
And should the court of public opinion have the power to exile someone without trial?
Definitely interesting. I definitely raised eyebrows at the whole Googling Erie and Survey 319 because she wanted to go hiking. Have you seen what Survey 319 looks like? It's flat. Again, take it with a grain of salt. Think about it. Come back or right now. Comment your thoughts below on this information. I don't think this channel was necessarily defending Nichol Kessinger, but I think they were trying to get us to look at both sides where we think about, hey, let's think about, was she involved? Or let's think about, maybe she wasn't involved. Like, you got to think both sides and then come up with the conclusion, the result. And I still think to this day that some shape or form, I just can't say how, she was involved in either planning it, telling him the ultimatum. But again, it's kind of hard when you don't have anything new or anything that connects her at the moment. But it is interesting that she Googled Erie and CERVI 319. So, comment your thoughts down below. Don't forget to subscribe, share with your friends or family or anyone you know, and we will see you guys in the next video. Please take care, be safe. As always, keep nerding on, and we will see you guys in the next video.